What's going on, everyone? Happy Tuesday to everyone. Hopefully everyone is doing well and having a great day so far. It is time now for the Tuesday edition of the Climate Update for Tuesday, February 6th, 2024. If you're new to my channel, this is where I do the daily climate update with the latest on the weather forecast in the U.S., extreme weather, and, of course, we do talk about weather records around the world. So if you enjoy this type of content, give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below. Alright, today we have to start off by talking about Nova Scotia. Something really extreme and impressive has happened in Nova Scotia. Remember that system that was in the Northeast last week, around Friday, that was going to go off the coast and clear, and the Northeast was going to have a nice weekend? Well, that system did clear off the coast, but it also developed into a snowstorm for Nova Scotia. Let's take a look at this loop right here. I'm going to take a look at this loop, and you can see here, here's the storm. It developed right here. Here's Nova Scotia. Look at this. It just stalled over the weekend and into yesterday, producing a ton of snowfall over Nova Scotia. You can see this storm just sat, and it kept spinning and spinning and spinning. How much snowfall are we talking about? Many places saw at least 1 foot of snow, with some areas receiving up to 60 inches of snow. Yes, 60 inches. That is absolute insanity. That's 5 feet of snow that has fallen in some places in Nova Scotia. So yes, while it was just a minor, harmless storm, across places of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, southern New England, it really went to town for Nova Scotia, and they're still digging out from it. The pictures are just absolutely incredible. Speaking of storms, we have to talk about the other storm, the storm system out on the west coast, which is continuing. It's going to finally start to taper down this evening and then tomorrow, into tomorrow, but not without leaving a tremendous mark. The pictures, the video footage that we are seeing, that I'm seeing, is just incredible. Mudslides, flooding, cars not turning around and going right into floodwaters. There have even been rescues. It's just unbelievable. And let's take a look at some of these rainfall totals from California. Cogswell Dam in LA County, over 13 inches of rain, 13.15 inches of rain. Then you have Bel Air, which is also in LA County, just north of LA, 12.32 inches of rain. Yeah, that's over a foot of rainfall. Continuing down here, we have Woodland Hills, which has received over 11 inches of rain, almost 12 inches of rain. Santa Fe Dam has 8.61 inches of rain. Just totally unreal rainfall amounts, and on it goes. There have been other places as well that have received close to, or if not over, a foot of rainfall in this area, as this atmospheric river just continued to train over the area again and again. We'll take a look at radar in just a moment. Take a look at the national satellite picture. You can see that storm system in the southeast U.S. is exiting, but you do see there is a flow that is setting up from northeast to southwest. That's going to provide some cloud cover to the east coast, right along the immediate coast, and there could be even some minor coastal flooding issues because of this storm system, which is exiting the coast. On the west coast, you can see that atmospheric river continues. The thick of it has shifted pretty far to the south, but it's still raining in LA. You still have ongoing rainfall, and let's take a look at the southwest. In particular, you can see here, there's still this blob of moisture, which is continuing right over Southern California. Taking a look at the latest radar picture here, you can see quiet across much of the country, but when we zoom into the southwest, you can see here, there's still this pocket of moderate to heavy rainfall, which is ongoing in Los Angeles, and I think you could see an additional 1 to 3 inches of rainfall. Rain you do not need. This is just only going to aggravate flooding situations, and it's only going to make it worse. And eventually this will taper down to showers as we get into tomorrow, and should eventually maybe end altogether before yet another weaker system comes in from Northern California. More on that in a moment. Down in Southern California, down by San Diego, there was actually a tornado warning earlier today. Some thunderstorms can still not be ruled out with this system as it continues to be ongoing. Las Vegas, you're also seeing some rainfall continuing as well. Lake Mead, it'll be very interesting to see what happens with Lake Mead after the storm, to see how much it actually rises. I suspect it's going to rise quite a bit. Taking a look at the National Hazards Map, you can see the West Coast. That's really where all the action is, but if you look real closely, there are some coastal flood advisories that are up along the Delmarva and the New Jersey coast, because that storm system is going to exit to the east, though it may throw back some higher than normal water levels along the coast. And you can see here in the southwest, take a look at that. You still have ongoing flood watches, flood warnings, flash flood warnings. It's going to continue probably for the next several days before things finally calm down. Even if the rainfall ends, say maybe later tomorrow, the flooding situation, it's still going to be a problem for several days, and I have heard that they are now urging for FEMA to come in and help out with the situation. They're actually calling for the president to help out, because it's just really that bad. All right, taking a look at the Weather Prediction Center now, we can see there is still a slight risk of excessive rainfall. Again, there's that area of heavy rain, which is moderate to heavy rain over Southern California. That's still going to cause some flooding issues, or some potential flooding issues. Tomorrow we finally trim this down to marginal. There'll still be some showers, but nothing as extreme. And then you still see a marginal risk on day 3 in Arizona. There will be some shower activity for you there. Taking a look at precipitation amounts, you can see as we look at the days 1 through 7, you can see still some precipitation in the mountainous region, especially in Arizona. Arizona is where we really could see over the next couple days maybe another 2 to 4 isolated 5 inches of rainfall. Then you see this blob in the southeast. We'll explain about that when we get to the modeling. It looked like there may have been potentially a severe weather threat in the southeast. The models are starting to squash that now. They're starting to say the system will be a little bit more suppressed. But it's not just going to be one system. There could be the potential for multiple waves of energy. We'll get to that in a moment. All right, severe weather. There's no organized severe storms forecast today, but as stated earlier, there was a tornado warning in Southern California, just near the San Diego area. So isolated storms, they still cannot be ruled out, and it's the possibility that maybe there will be some spin with some of them, and you get these isolated tornado warnings. This sometimes happens on the West Coast. It's hard to predict severe weather on the West. We've seen a lot of cases where the Storm Prediction Center just missed the call, and there ends up being a reported tornado or two. As of right now, none more reported, but we'll have to see what happens and what comes from where those tornado warnings were. All right, take a look at the HRRR model now. You can see here on the southwest coast of the U.S. that rainfall still continues, and these showers continue. They actually continue right into Wednesday, as you can see here. And take a look at this. Late day Wednesday, yes, another weaker storm comes in from the north. Another piece of energy. Really the caboose, if you will. Once that's gone, things will slowly start to dry out. They may not fully clear up, but it's going to be down to just isolated showers at that point, and some of this rainfall can actually run off, and some of the water levels may actually start to eventually drop. It's going to take a long time. And take a look up here in the central region. You can see an area of low pressure develops in the northern plains, and yes, the backside of that, you are talking about snow. Let's take a look at the NAM model now for that. And you can see on the NAM model, this system really does get going. It is a pretty strong system, but it's limited in moisture. So while there's going to be some snow, we're not talking about a ton of snow, and this system should slide to the north up into Canada, but what it's going to do is, ahead of that, it's going to generate a southwest flow that sets up and places ahead of this southwest flow above average temperatures. But I will say this, there's a wild card now. We're somewhere in the mid-Atlantic region, whether it be Delaware, South New Jersey, or Southeast Pennsylvania, there's going to be a warm front that sets up, and that is going to really limit how far north this warmer gets. It's possible it does not get as north as earlier projected on the models. Here's the GFS now. You can see here. Follow this red line, the 546 line. Right there is about where your warm front is going to set up. And wherever that sets up, just north of there, it is not going to be maybe even in the 50s. While south of there, you will get into the 60s. Take a look at the West Coast. This is Friday night and Saturday now. You can see here, quieter conditions. However, there's a piece of energy that comes out of the Four Corners region. This is the energy that at one time the models thought would be a little bit more north, develop into an area of low pressure, and maybe provide a severe weather threat. Models have kind of lost that today, and it's just on all three models now, GFS, CMC, European. It was more so the European and the CMC that were more impressive. Today they have gone a little bit more south. But what they do is they set this boundary up like a train track. You can see one piece of energy comes through late Saturday into Sunday across the Mid-Atlantic region. Then a stronger piece of energy gets developing as we head into Monday. And we really have to watch how this develops. Here's what the GFS does with it. You can see it develops an area of low pressure. It tries to transfer to the coast. Here comes the cold air crashing in at the same time. But the GFS says, wait a second, that's going to be suppressed. When we switch models now, let's go over to the latest Canadian model. And you're going to see something a little bit different on the Canadian. Here comes that first piece of energy. And once again, look at the warm front. There's a warm front ahead of that. And it's only going to get so far to the north. It may be possible now that Philadelphia does not hit 60 like the models were indicating yesterday. Now here comes that next piece of energy. The Canadian brings us much further north. And look at this. It rains right into the northeast. But it also interior regions, you do change over to snow. Remember yesterday we said winter's going to be coming back? Well, look at the Canadian model. Canadian definitely shows that. And behind us, look what happens here. Cold air. Look at these winds. This is late next week. You can see the winds just funneling in. The cold air is going to come back. There's agreement. After this week, it is not going to be above average, and many places will be slightly below average to maybe even well below average in some places. You can see here, and it's the same deal even when we go over to the European. Let's go over to the European here, and let's reverse this, and you can see here. Here comes that first piece of energy. The second one does stay suppressed. However, at this time, given we are still over 150 hours out, I suspect we're going to see changes in the models. Should this track further to the north, should that cold air come down faster, suddenly you're looking at an interior snow threat for portions of the northeast. It's something we'll have to keep watching as time goes on. I want to show you something else on the European. Let's take a look at the temperatures. So here's the temperatures for this week. And let's advance this up to Friday afternoon. Here's the widespread 60-degree weather. Take a look at this. Widespread 60s, even 70s across portions of Texas. But you can see here, it really gets cut off as you head into the northeast. It only gets so far. And the European is a little bit more bullish here. You can see, this does show some of the warmer air getting north of the Mason-Dixon line. But when we switch it back to the GFS, see what I was talking about? 50s. They don't get north of the Mason-Dixon line. Let's go over to the Canadian. Again, look at this. The Canadian's even more suppressed to the south. So this is something we will have to watch. There is a big bus factor here. Some people are going to go with the forecast saying, oh, it's going to go well into the 60s. Got to keep an eye on this here. There could be a flow that sets up coming in from the Atlantic, and that would keep temperatures down in the northeast. All right, going back to the European, let's take a look at the longer range here. And we can see, look out in the west, look up in the northern plains. Colder air starts coming back for many as we head into next week. And as we get deeper into that forecast, take a look here. Yes, there may even be signs of some Arctic air way up to the north. GFS is a model which goes out even further. Look at this. There's a piece of the polar vortex up there in Canada. Taking a look at the 500 millibar pattern. Look at that. It does try to dive down. You can see here, a big trough sets up in the east as we get to the second half of the month. So again, this above average temperatures that we're seeing now, they're not going to last. It's going to go below average for many. West Coast, it's finally going to get a little bit quieter for you. You can see here the longer range. It is showing another storm system, but I think you're going to at least get a break starting after tomorrow that would last into portions of next week. Maybe the Pacific Northwest gets another system, but Southern California, you're at least going to get a 1-week break. Beyond that, things remain uncertain. As you can see here, GFS is showing another system, but mind you, that's 300 hours out. A lot can happen in 300 hours out. Let's take a look now at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. We can see 6 to 10 days from the Climate Prediction Center. Above average in the northeast and the north, below average in the south. This is not going to last. We go 8 to 14 days, you're going to see different scenario. Below average precipitation on the west coast, that is good news. Slightly above average along the Gulf Coast, and slightly below average in the Northeast and the Midwest. Then when we go to 8 to 14 days, much of the country goes below average temperatures, especially along the East Coast, which is a dramatic change from what we are seeing right now. And take a look at California, slightly above average temperatures. And then when we take a look at the 8 to 14 day precipitation outlook, yes, then we start introducing potential for more rainfall in the Southwest. You saw it on the GFS. Some ensembles have it as well. It's far enough out. Let's just enjoy the break that's coming after this historical storm that just hit there. And slightly below average precipitation in the Northeast, and slightly below average precipitation in the Pacific Northwest, with above average precipitation across portions of Florida. All right, you can also follow me on Twitter when I am not doing videos here. It says climate at Climate Data Report. That is capital RPT. Follow me on Twitter. All right, guys, that's it. That's all I have for today. We will have another climate update again tomorrow. If you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel down below. I will see you all again next time. Until next time, stay safe and have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching.